is an Eyewitness News special presentation.
Just because it's a prescription, it is every bit as deadly and every bit as addictive.
Real hard. I can tell myself no, 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 but my body, as soon as you think about it, you get anxiety, your palms start to sweat. You know, your mental ignores your physical.
How old you are, what your race is, what your nationality is. You can be the smartest person in the world. The minute that chemical hits your bloodstream, you lose control of what it does in your body. You can't control it. Nobody can control it. I don't care who you are. It's not controllable.
This is an Eyewitness News special, the opioid epidemic.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Meg Farris. It's the #1 cause of death for people younger than 50. An estimated 64,000 people, 64,000, died in 2016 from drug addiction. That's 6,000 more in 1 year than the number of troops who died in the Vietnam War over a decade. 2/3 were from opioids. Just this past weekend, we witnessed the opioid epidemic's grip on our community, losing 3 more to this epidemic in St. Tammany Parish. And I learned of lifelong friends, both loving parents, who lost their grown child to an overdose. So why is the opioid deadly epidemic happening? Who are the faces behind this illness of addiction? What is the medical science? What treatments are in our community? What about prevention programs and the cost and impact to the community and agents on the front lines? We'll explore that in this hour, not with edgy TV packaging, just straightforward conversations with the experts and drug users and those in recovery. And that's where we start, with 2 people who've been in recovery for many years, a mother who suffered life's greatest loss, and a man still using today. Joining me now is Susan Gislason, the mother of a son who died 2 years ago. His name was Geronimo. Reverend Greg Dill, he's a former user, 40 years sober, and now he's an advocate, and he started Louisiana Adult and Teen Challenge. Amir Baraka, who is a successful actor and producer, but he's a former user. He went to Angola because of his use. His father started him at 14. He now goes to prisons to counsel other people. And Dexter Pagnett, he's 49, and he's a current user of heroin who's tried 3 times to get off of the drug. Susan, I want to start with you. How old was he when
he was a freshman in high school.
Okay, so he's 14.
So he was 14, and that was the first time. His story was unfortunately similar to a lot of people, in which the first time he did drugs was after an accident when he was prescribed a painkiller. And when he wrote his own addiction biography, he said that was the first time in his life that he felt like it was who he really was. And I think that really kind of opened up the gate. And his true addiction didn't really present until he went to college. And then he came home, and it was a nightmare. But the way we looked at it is we thought, well, here's a problem. There'll be a solution. We can take care of it. But unfortunately, it's not that easy. And the thing that we learned that was the best analogy, that it wasn't just something that you get over, it's something that you deal with every single day of your life.
For the rest of your life.
For the rest of your life, like diabetes. Yes. That's the perfect analogy.
You have to manage it, as you have. 40 years you've been sober, and that your experience inspired you to help others, and teens included.
It has.
Tell me about Louisiana Teen and Adult Challenge.
Well, we're a 12-month faith-based residential program. We don't charge, so there's not an insurance problem there. They come in free of charge, and we want to. Our goal. We have 8 centers across the state, and years ago I got tired of having a waiting list, calling somebody up from the waiting list, only to have a parent tell me, "You can take my son off the waiting list. He died last night." That was an actual phone call I got. And that went to my heart. And if at all possible, God, let us have enough facilities where we don't have a waiting list. And that's our case today. If somebody, if our program is something that would fit their, style of help, then they can get in immediately.
Amir, you told me a story a while back when I first met you that just still to this day, you were 8 years old and your father asked you to use heroin with him, and you thought that was the ultimate in love, and the day you became a man, that your father was showing you some attention?
Yeah, well, that was I was 14, man. I was 14 at the time, and my dad and I we used heroin together. And at that particular time, I felt as though, because he had been going on a very, very long time, and we used heroin together, and it was like we gelled, we just
And
gelled.
you thought that was normal?
Yeah, I thought that was normal. I mean, because dealing, you know, where I come from, where I was born and raised at in the Callio Housing Project, those type of things go on. I'll never forget, I was about 13, I was selling cocaine, and a guy, he was shooting up, and he offered me some drugs. He was an older guy, and he had fixed a rig, it's called a rig, the needle, and wanted to put it in my arm. But I had sense enough at that time as a kid to say no. Even though I was snorting drugs.
And how you've changed your life. You went to Angola, but you taught yourself to read. You now are an actor, producer. I mean, you have such a successful, clean life. Yeah. And you go into the jails in New Orleans and talk to these young kids who are using.
Absolutely. I think what the gentleman was talking about, a faith-based, because it was, I had no other source to turn to at that particular time but God. And look at me today. So I tell them the same thing, that God has this incredible life for you if you choose to live this life. And so I go into DCI, WCI, Wade. I go, you know, any prison that I can get my hands on, I go in and share this.
And Dexter, you're 49 years old. How long have you been using?
I've been using since I was 14.
What does it feel like to have to always have that drug?
It is miserable. You have to wake up wondering where you're going to get the drugs from. When you don't have the money, you go out here, rob, steal, run out of Walmart with stuff, steal, to support your habit. And
have you
really
been through
bad.
treatment?
Yes, I have been
How
in
many
treatment.
times?
I've been in treatment 3 times. I got out of treatment Wednesday this week, and I made up my mind, I'm determined, I'm stopped. I done watched 3 of my partners, 3 of them died right during the holidays, during Christmas. And one just OD'd, sad. 2 OD'd sad. The boyfriend that born Saturday morning, the girlfriend OD'd Saturday evening. I saved her life. I brought her life. I hit her with the Narcan and brought her back to the ambulance, got back. You know, I'm just tired of using heroin because it's killing us out here.
Very quickly, Dexter, why do you think treatment's failed?
And because nobody don't want no help. This is all they know.
It's powerful in your brain, the cravings to use.
Okay. It's not a choice. It's not a decision. It's a disease.
It's right.
And it's something
disease.
you have to treat every day. And it's
Really
incredibly difficult. Incredibly difficult.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with our panel to talk with y'all more about that. Coming up, we'll hear more from our panel who have firsthand knowledge of opioid addiction. And later, why is addiction so tough to overcome? And where can you go for help?